Hello, good evening. I like to see these familiar faces that we've, over the months. This evening is actually the 10th episode of the C15 show. Yes. And we're really, each month it grows and, we get such great feedback from people who listen in. I always say that if I make an impression or if we make an impression on one person, it's worth the while. And it definitely every month, we get amazing feedback and really encourages us to continue. So hi, this evening we're coming to you with guests from the UK. So we know we may have some people tuning in. We know it's late and we thank Mateen so much for, jumping on at this late hour. So it's good evening, good night. I see Rome, great, Jerome joined as well, just in time. Love it, perfect. And of course, I'm seeing some very familiar faces in the guests, good friends of mine, Kimoy, Lady Montano, Katian. Thank you for joining. So this month, big topic, Carnival. Yes, and we have some key people here to talk with us about it. Mateen from the UK, one of the big bands in the Notting Hill arena. And then, of course, well, we call him Rome. Jerome Precilla is his real name. And he is so many hats. I was going through his bio, before the show. And, Rome is one of these guys who really represents so well the culture and the creativity. So I'm going to, talk to him a few things about Carnival this evening, but a bit about himself as well. So thank you both for joining, and we're going to start off with Mateen. So as I said, welcome from the UK to us here talking to us here in Trinidad and coming to us at this late hour. What time is it over there? 11?
Yeah, it's now 11. I just got the message from my Apple Health app saying it's bedtime.
Yes, I know I have that set up as well. But of course, being in this business, we know that late hours are part of our day, our normal, I would say. Right. It's our normal. And so Mateen, I mean, you are Trini at heart. You said to me when I was talking to you a little earlier, you said, but I'm a Trini, but been living in the UK for 20 something years, and really, you are a Fed promoter and a band manager, one of the biggest bands in Notting Hill, albeit you say it's small compared to the bands in Trinidad and Tobago. What made you get into the Carnival world? What made you embrace this and do it full time?
Well, it started off as a more in the party arena. I started throwing Caribbean parties in the UK, and surely enough, it's sort of a vertical industry where you're doing Caribbean parties. You've got such a big following. The only logical next step is to come out with a carnival band. So we did that. You think, all right, well, I have all this audience. What else can I provide for them? And everything that we learned in Carnival was initially from working with other bands, because nobody jumps into Carnival just like and decides I'm going to have a mass band and how to do everything. So I started off as doing a Busspepper section in other established mass bands. Did that for a couple of years, and then came together with some business partners and started our own mass band. And so it parties were like a stepping stone, but the dynamic here, I guess, is slightly different to the rest of the Caribbean, whereby the majority of the population is involved in the carnival culture and understands the carnival culture. We are here more of, yes, let's get our diaspora involved to make a great product for them, but also we try to educate the British public into what our carnival means. And a lot of them will just, assume that it's a select group of people who are part of this group, much like what the Brazilian carnival is like. You have to be in a dance group. You can't just join, but we're trying to let everybody know, welcome, come join us, come be part of this carnival, not be a spectator.
Right.
We're going to be
Make it more inclusive and more participatory than just standing on the side of the road and watching.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I mean, first of all, I think it's fantastic, and I'm really happy to have somebody from outside of the Caribbean. Even though you said I'm from Trinidad, I know you're from Trinidad, but you're living in the UK and you're living from, if you want, I mean, your career path is in the creative arts of the Caribbean, of the Carnival. And I think that is really interesting to see that. So you have been able to establish a successful business working, and promoting the music and the talent and so on of the Caribbean. And tell us a little bit, what are the challenges you might have experienced in building this business? Because, we have a lot of listeners on who, use these sessions to learn how to do this,
Well, challenges, where do we start? Everyone in the carnival business will tell you that, there's no shortage of stress of, doing things down to the wire and sleepless nights and, endless team meetings. But it comes down to what resources are available to you. A lot of the times, as there's a lot of parallels between Carnival in Trinidad and up here. And I think the main challenge is getting your costumes to you when they are produced overseas. Now, if it was, there is some production that will happen locally, but we have producers in Trinidad. Sometimes we get stuff from China. And when you place an order, you don't know what is going to look at you when you open that box from DHL or FedEx or whoever, and this is what your customers have paid you for. So there's always that bit of a scary moment when you look at your team and you say, okay, this is the moment of truth. Please let everything be as it should. 99% of the times, everything is not going to be as it should. There's going to be little errors in sizing. You're going to have, some customers that are saying, all right, okay, this bra size is the wrong one, or this is not fitting correctly. There's only so much you can do in terms of sizing and so on. But we, somehow we make it work. The customers make it work. We have, we have a great team with some people who can do alterations or just suggest other ways to tie things. That's totally, that's a very creative part of it, because you do have to get creative when stuff isn't as it should. But there are quite a few challenges I can list, but I'm not too sure of their relevance in the Caribbean market. A lot of them are logistically to do with our market here. And
let me jump in. So basically, it's really a service industry, in the sense where, although people are buying a product, it's at the same time there's a service aspect of it, because of course I want to know that if my bra isn't fitting me properly, somebody is going to help me organize to get it fixed. So when I'm listening to you, and from my knowledge of it, it's really you're tailoring to a clientele, and you want to please this clientele every year so that they come back.
That's correct. Interesting that you said it's a service, because a question I get from a lot of the financial institutions that we will go with, if I'm signing up for a new bank account or a payment processor, they always ask, what is your business? There's a drop-down box, and of course, there's no options for our business in the drop-down box. And so I end up writing a description, and it falls under two different things. It's partially, as you say, a service, but we're also selling a product. And the first thing that everyone thinks in the international forum is that you are selling tickets to an event, which in itself is part of the product, because the ticket is your wristband to be in the band.
Right.
But then there's the costume side of it, which is an actual physical product. So it's two of these things, but in both avenues, you have your service to your customers on the road. Your security, your drinks, your music, the atmosphere has to be right. The only thing we can't control is the weather. But then, yes, you have your costume service as well, which, as we've all come to evolve, there must be an alterations perspective when you have your distribution. There must be somebody to turn to when something is not fitting you correct. And,
right.
If you don't have that solution for your customers, they're not going to come back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really interesting, and it's such a complete enterprise, if you want, because you have the creativity, the costumes, you have the music. It brings in so many different aspects of the creative sectors. And that is really what's quite fantastic. And we're going to bring in Rome now a bit, because, I see him there. And I feel I want to bring him into this conversation. Let me introduce him properly, though. Jerome Precilla is known by most of us as Rome, but he's actually a former mechanical engineer turned entertainer entrepreneur. He is one of the most multifaceted and dynamic entertainers and influencer personalities in Trinidad and Tobago, and a true triple threat: actor, singer, and host. So he is currently at the pinnacle of his entertainment career. He has become both a household name locally and internationally, appearing across, all local TV and radio stations, marketing campaigns for leading regional brands such as Digicel, with billboards across Trinidad and Tobago, and he made an appearance on the US TV network VH1. So I'm not going to read all your accomplishments, but, you've hosted and judged, and you're actually co-founder and managing director of Lit 102.3 FM radio station. So, and also very importantly, he's the current president of the Trinidad and Tobago Promoters Association. So things have got into a gear now with, after 2 years where I don't even want to think what happened for us during those 2 years in this business. It was really, really dread. And I kind of feel that that's past, and now we're moving forward. I don't even want to say the word. It's almost like, Voldemort. We don't want to speak his name anymore. Like, I don't want to say it. So how are you, Rome? Take us into 23. How do you think this carnival is going to play out? People already, I see events already mark their dates and tickets on sale.
It is a mad scramble for event real estate. I could describe it that way. Because after coming out, we in 2022 BC, right? After COVID. So we have BC before COVID, and AC we have after COVID. So the after COVID period has seen the event sector blow up because of that period where everyone had to be stuck. We were in a rut. All of us, Mateen and they were a bit different from us, but here in Trinidad and Tobago, we were stuck for a long time, for a full 2 years. And with the promoters, we all felt the pinch. The entire entertainment sector, we felt the pinch. So coming out of that, everyone is excited for Carnival 2023, being branded as the mother of all carnivals to come. So what you're seeing now is that a lot of the promoters are trying to mark their territory when it comes to events. So usually you wouldn't see tickets coming out this early for all of these events. You wouldn't see flyers dropping this early, but everyone is trying to mark their date and mark their space. Because one of the challenges you do face as a promoter It's competition. If you look at Trinidad Carnival calendar, you would see how many events there are between January and February. And like Carnival week itself, there are so many different events. So what you see the promoters trying to do now is put out a flyer early to say, hey, this is my date, and try to hold it so that any new promoter coming out or anybody coming with a new event would kind of think twice before putting their event on that same date. There's also a scramble right now for event venues in Trinidad and Tobago that you would see is another challenge that our promoters here would face. Is there are not a lot of event venues for us to use. So there are so many events, so many promoters with limited venue spaces to use. So you're going to see that as well as we head into 2023. But it is shaping up nicely. People are excited. We got a taste of it for the summer period. There were over 500 events in Trinidad and Tobago for the summer period right after coming out of COVID from May. Yeah, so from May to August, you had over 500 events. And a lot of them were sold out. So you have that pent-up demand of people who are known as a partying people. People know Trinidad and Tobago as the party capital of the Caribbean, the Ibiza of the Caribbean, and you take party people and you lock them up, go out and to party and to have a good time, because we as Trinbagonians use partying and liming and socializing as a part of our release, a part of our break from all of the work that we would go through. So it helps with our mental stability as well. So Carnival 2023 is shaping up to be a grand one.
Well, great. And of course, I mean, I hope your tickets are booked, Mateen, because I have already friends telling me they're not getting flights to come in, and they're coming from France. And I said, well, you all have to be creative, look at flying through the US or something, and you maybe not, so I know that hotels are already fully booked for Carnival weeks. So it's something, it really is something. And actually, we can't talk about all of Carnival and not mention Tobago. Tobago is having this big event this week, really, I would say marking again a space in the calendar, which is interesting and great. I think, why not? What do you think, Rome, about the whole Tobago Carnival?
So Tobago Carnival, I was elated. The minute it was announced that Tobago was having their own carnival, I was so excited for Tobago, because I always felt Tobago's carnival never got the attention that it deserved, because they held it at the same time as Trinidad Carnival. So most of the people would have come to Trinidad for our carnival, and people would go to Tobago Ash Wednesday for a kind of a cool down. So Tobago's carnival never really got that love. So now Tobago having a carnival in October, I thought was an amazing idea that Tobago would get to put themselves on display. There was some disappointment from me personally in the role that I hold as Trinidad and Tobago Promoters Association president. And not only that, as a Trinbagonian on the whole, I don't like the fact that Tobago tried to distance themselves a bit from Trinidad in terms of having their carnival. And you would see it as it unfolds this weekend, because I heard the one of their representatives speak about it, is that Tobago wanted to do their own thing. And there's this little underlying rift between Trinidad and Tobago that foreigners may not really see, but we know that it exists here. And Tobago is trying to find their own identity, which is great. They don't want Tobago's carnival to just be a replica of Trinidad's carnival. So they want to have their own product. My little qualms with it is that I felt as though they could have reached out a bit more for us to assist them in helping to develop it, because Tobago actually went to Grenada to get advice on how to do a carnival. And I found as though, why not reach out to Trinidad?
Yes, but I do know that there are a couple of our promoters over there assisting with some of the events and so on. But that may be more in the private capacity of some of the events that are happening, rather than on a more holistic approach. But I mean, that is true. We know that there's this little rivalry, and I mean, they must want to mark their space for a reason. And let's see how it all plays out. But I'm glad that they are having this.
Yeah. We're really happy with that.
Yeah,
and we
I
want
think
to
that
keep
is good.
supporting them with it. And we want to see it develop itself. And I want them to know that there's no rift on our side, is that we as the Trinidad and Tobago Promoters Association, would lend them any support that they need in moving forward and developing the product and helping it to grow in terms of
great.
that.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
so we
making
wanna
that
see
clear.
them.
And actually,
Yeah.
usually we take the questions at the end, but I see a question pertaining to what we're talking about, so I'm going to ask it. How does one join or register to be part of the Promoters Association?
So you could go to the Promoters Association website, www.ttpromoters.com, and there's an application form. You just fill it out. The annual membership fee is $1,000 for the year, and you join as a member of the association. Once you're doing events, we would have somebody just to verify that you're a promoter, and that's it. You become a member of the association. We represent most of the big brands here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have Caesar's Army, we have Humor, we have Tribe, Scotch. All of the big brands are part of the Promoters Association.
So I'm tossing it back to Mateen. Mateen, is it possible to run, because the topic was how do you run a successful carnival business? Or how do you have, so would you say that it is possible to run a successful carnival business throughout the year in the UK?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think when we were offline, our business cycle runs for 4 to 5 months, and throughout that period of time, if you look at it from a balance sheet perspective, a profit and loss perspective, you have one season of income. Unless you are making enough money to sustain you and pay your bills for the whole year, it's not going to be a year-round business. Because Carnival, I mean, much like in Trinidad, you have a business cycle and you need to maximize on that 2 days of Carnival that you have. But when you look at the events perspective, that's where you can see a sustainable year-round business model. And it's a different, sort of a different atmosphere here. You get Carnival brands in Trinidad doing events throughout the year. Not so much in the UK. Personally, we have a different brand to run events throughout the year, and that keeps a year-round business flowing. We do nights, we do shows. We're gonna do Christmas.
So it's the events bring that added value, and also they loyalize your clients, I guess, because they feel right, every couple months or so there's an event to go to, so it keeps them in touch. And I think that it would be a solid model. Do you think it's more or less the same thing in Trinidad, Rome, or is it a little different?
Well, in Trinidad, it's a bit different because a lot of Trinidad is known as the Mecca of Carnival in terms of the Caribbean diaspora. So it is a profitable business year-round for the Carnival product itself. Because, as Mateen would say, a lot of the bands outside of Trinidad and Tobago use our designers to design some of the costumes and to make some of the costumes. So it does allow us as Trinidad and Tobago to export our Carnival product. So you would see that there are carnivals year-round. After Trinidad's Carnival in February, then you have Jamaica's Carnival in April. Then you go down the line with Barbados Carnival. You have Grenada. Then you have Notting Hill. You have Toronto, Caribana. And what that does, it creates a business not only for the carnival bands to export their product, it creates business for the entertainers, it creates business for the creatives and the designers. So it allows us to export our product and generate foreign exchange as we keep traveling. Even for the promoters, they would see a lot of the parties that happen in all of those other carnivals. It would be a lot of Trini promoters who would duplicate their events up the islands or in the other diasporas, like in Notting Hill or in Toronto as well. So it is a feasible product that is all year round. So when Trinidad Carnival, all you think it's done in February or March, somebody who's in the carnival business is working all year round. They go from February or March straight down to November, where you end at Uber Suka Cruise, which is in November around that time. So there are carnivals almost every single month from April straight to November.
Right. And a lot of the, as you said, a lot of the bands have connections with groups in those other territories. So you'll see, partnering with people in Jamaica. So, they would be, Yuma would be represented, or Tribe or so on, with their partners over there. So, and as you mentioned, the designers would then have work. I mean, it was just Miami Carnival a couple of weeks ago. And I blown away again at how big Miami Carnival has grown and what it has become. But you are seeing a lot of the familiar faces from Trinidad or, of the islands there. And as you said, and promoters throwing events in Miami, linking up. What's interesting too, what I noticed is you have like Bajans and Trinis and whoever, another island coming together. So you're seeing more of that mixture of the Caribbean-ness. Miami for me kind of represents for me, Miami is like the party capital of the Caribbean after Trinidad, of course. But but what I like about it is you see a lot of this, Jamaicans working with Bajans and working with Trinis and so on. While, in the islands, each, it would be Trinis or so on. Mateen, you don't miss coming, you're up there in the UK. Do you feel you're missing out on something, or do you feel you're building your brand and it's been good for you, the UK?
Well, first of all, I'm too old for FOMO. It's funny you should have said. I just want to backtrack about the seasons in all of the different islands, countries, carnivals, and the entertainers. I have found that I need to base my event schedule around these carnivals, because you can't get talent to come internationally at those times. You call up 2, 3, 4 managers, 5 managers, and they'll say, yeah, it's Cayman Carnival that weekend, and everybody's going to want to be there. And the whole carnival fraternity, they spend a lot of time together, all the DJs and the artists, they might as well live together, because they're going from all of these places, and it's really great to see that happening for the culture. That maybe if you dial it back 25 years ago, you would be a DJ or a musician, and you would still need another sidewalk to pay the bills. But now it's our artists and musicians can have a full-time profession. It's just gone to the next level. So that's really good. In terms of what's going on in the rest of the world, what goes on here, that same team of people comes up here for our carnival, and I'm in constant contact with them. The internet has made stuff a lot smaller, so you actually know what's going on in a party in Miami while it's going on real time, from your bed in London, looking at an Instagram live, and that is very helpful for us, because it's not that everybody's copying each other, but everybody needs to stay at a certain standard and level with their events, and you don't want to fall behind the pack, because that's when people start looking for something better.
Yeah. But would you all, and either of you all can answer this, would you all say that we have reached, let's use the word pinnacle, since Rome is at the pinnacle of his career. Do you think Carnival has reached its pinnacle, or we can still grow in terms of the product that we're offering? Rome, maybe start with you.
I would like to see our Carnival product get better every single year. As much as we may have the #1 carnival in the Caribbean diaspora, we still do not have the #1 carnival in the world. Brazil is still on top of us in terms of the #1 carnival in the world. As Mateen was saying, we have a more inclusive carnival, but in terms of the sheer number of people that they would attract to their shows and all of that, they do have more than us. Even Notting Hill's carnival, I think they had something estimated at 2-point-something million people on the road at that point in time. Trinidad only has 1.4 million people. So it's more about us growing the carnival product and improving every single year. But not only that, for us as a people, in terms of a carnival nation, there are a lot of things that we need to put in place to accommodate more people. As you were saying, you can't get a hotel room And we don't have much hotels, large hotel chains here to accommodate all of these people. There's a cruise ship coming to Trinidad for Carnival just to help with that accommodation issue that we have. We have people who are turning their houses into Airbnbs, and all the Airbnbs are already booked up for Carnival. So at this point, we are kind of really maxed out in terms of how many people we could accommodate for our Carnival. So in terms of our infrastructure basis, we need to improve on that in order to grow our Carnival to increase the number of people that can come. Not only that, our Carnival product has actually died when it came to spectators. Long ago, when I was a child, I would go to Port of Spain to view the Carnival, and there would be a lot of people on the road. Mateen, I was there for nothing in Carnival, and you all seem to have more spectators on the road than masqueraders in the band, because a lot of people came out to look at the Carnival itself. But Trinidad and Tobago, over the years, the spectators have dwindled. Before, when we crossed the stage on the Savannah, the stands were packed with people who came to see. And now when you cross the stage in the Savannah, you are crossing the stage to empty seats. So what we need to do as a people, as a Carnival product, is to develop it in a way where it is more appealing to the spectator, that people will come to see the Carnival on the road versus those who are just participating in it. And then you will be able to attract more and more tourists who come to see it, because a lot of tourists who go to Brazil's Carnival, they are not allowed to participate in the Carnival itself, but they just go there to see it because it's a show. So I think we need to bring back some of that showmanship element to our Carnival, as well as having the inclusive element to the Carnival, and as well as developing the infrastructure to encourage more and more people to come here and spend. Because in terms of figures, I can give you some quick figures. Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival generates over $100 million in revenue. That was as of 2020. And people come here and they spend their money. This is both local and foreign revenue that we generate here. And there's a good US dollar revenue earner for a country who depends heavily on oil and gas. And we have a struggle right now for the US dollar in terms of foreign exchange. I could see our Carnival product becoming a tourism product, and our event sector doing that. And also duplicate the Carnival. We could do that. And I know the Minister of Culture spoke about something called a Festival of Fets in the summer period, where if we maxed out for our Carnival in February, you have a mini Carnival in the summer period to attract people who missed the earlier Carnival to come and have a Festival of Fets there.
Well, that's great. I mean, Rome, great. I mean, you touched on all the areas. I can tell you're accustomed to preaching this. And I mean, I agree. I like the idea of that, the spectators, because I mean, same as I remember as a child going down, my family taking me to the Salvatore building, and we went up on the parapet there, and we were spectators. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people my age would remember to, going to see Carnival with their families. Then there was the idea of, and then the other memory that comes to me is, of course, Minchel, like we would wait, for Minchel to cross the stage. People would come to sit in the stands and pay to watch Minchel cross the stage. So we've lost a bit some of that, how to say, the masquerade side of it, the actual performance, the Carnival performance side. And I agree that if we want to bring in the spectators, we have to bring that back. And I don't see why we couldn't. And even a big Carnival show, I know it's been talked about. I know Brian one year had tried something McFarlane in the stadium and a big Carnival show. I mean, those ideas are still, I think, relevant and could be explored. Mateen, I feel you want to say something. We have some questions pouring in. So if you want to add to this, and then we can go to the questions.
Well, what I wanted to add to it is an interesting paradox, because if you can compare relatively the price of what costumes costed and band membership costed back in those days, we spend so much more on costumes now. And they're so much bigger and more elaborate and expensive gems and feather work and wire work, but then the spectators are not there to see it. So you're spending all that money to look at each other, whereas you would think it would work the other way around and attract more people to come out and see. But then you also have to take, as I said before, technology into perspective whereby people are spectating, but we just can't physically see them. It's happening over the internet. It's happening from people's lives, from, you know, they might wait till the day after till everybody posts their reels or whatever. So are we missing spectators, or have spectators just changed their form?
It's a good question, and I think they're both sides of it. I think, you know, there would be for and against in both cases, because it is, you know, what people appreciate about Trinidad Carnival is the participatory aspect of it. And a lot of people, when they compare it with Brazil, they say, you know, in Brazil, you go and stand up and watch. If you're not in a samba school, well, you don't get to dance samba. But as Rome pointed out, tourists flock to Brazil to see that. So could we create that also in Trinidad and Tobago? So let's get a few questions, and then we have a hand up and excitement. Stephen Taylor. Stephen is asking us, how can filmmakers, well, Stephen is a director and many other hats also. We tend to be in this, in the cultural field, we tend to be many hats, versatile in the Caribbean anyway. How can filmmakers play a role in the carnival festivities, adding diversity, creativity, or VR activations? What are some ideas that can be considered? Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah. Let me jump in and take this one, Mateen, first, right? Because I love that idea, because it was a proposal that I gave to the Ministry of Culture recently, is that I recently went a line with some partners, and they gave me these VR goggles to put on. It was the Oculus or something like that. And this thing felt so real that there was a plank to walk on top of a building. And I'm terrified of heights, by the way. I put this thing on and I am terrified to walk. I am in a living room and I'm terrified to walk on this plank because I may fall off. I know I'm in a living room, but my mind is locked in this thing. And immediately it came to me that when Trinidad and Tobago goes to a lot of these expos, we have the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Trade, we go and we try to showcase Trinidad and Tobago in Singapore, in Dubai, all over the world, we do these trade shows. And I always thought, why not have a virtual reality carnival experience? Because I always felt our carnival is something that you need to be immersed in to really know what it is about. It's difficult to explain carnival in words to someone. It's more something that you have to experience. So to Stephen's question is that I could see virtual reality playing a part in that, where we could get filmmakers to capture the essence of a carnival from a POV view, a point of view of a masquerader, where somebody puts on these goggles and they walk to the truck and they turn around and they see someone dancing and they turn here and they feel as though they are immersed in the band itself. And that could be a great marketing tool for our carnival outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, I think it's huge. And I mean, even like trying on the costume, because you know you can go in the metaverse now and buy outfits, and you know, so you have your little character, and because I mean, there's certain costumes I would never try on, but I would try it on in the metaverse. I mean, I wouldn't try it on in real life, but on the metaverse with just me looking at it, I would. So I think that there's definitely a market there to explore for sure. Gina is asking us, how can Trinidad and Tobago create a monopoly on our creativity? For example, the mask, the pan, and what really is the government of Trinidad and Tobago doing to maximize that economic value? Well, that's a tough one, but can we create a monopoly? Let's start there.
Can creativity be a monopoly? I mean,
the thing is that we could say that the fact that we've exported these carnivals to all these different territories, you know, I know where she's coming from. She's coming more from an intellectual property aspect. And I feel we've kind of missed the boat there a little bit, unfortunately. But for example, are there certain types, because Carlana is mentioning about the costumes, like, can we can we register or copyright a certain way of making costumes or designing costumes? Is that something that's even possible?
Somebody could write a guidebook, a methodology, have some sort of qualification in mask making. You see it in all industries where it starts with a qualification, right? When you say that, all right, you are the only one that does this, so you are like putting your flag in the moon on it. I'll use an example of a friend of mine who has a Trinidadian guy in London, and he has about 4 salons that specialize in dreadlocks. It's called Morris Roots, and he actually went to the academics and made a government recognized certification into becoming a loctician.
Wow.
And
I know Maurice, yes.
I'm just using that as an example, but why can't we do that with mask making, with wire bending, with with the logistics of running Carnival? We just need to agree on a best practice.
No, but it's something important, because again, we shouldn't let these things escape us. And Carlana makes such a good point. Are we seeing like the older heads working with the newer design? Like, are we seeing that pass on of the baton, of the skill set, the wire bending or the other skills that come, the beading and different skills that they have in the costume making? Are we seeing the older people passing this on to the young people? Does that exist?
In that Carnival space, you have a lot of designers who could design, and I'll be open with you with that. A lot of designers who could do designs and come up with it creatively, but a lot of them cannot actually do the wire bending. They would send it to a wire bender who would do that. They would have somebody who specializes in doing the feathering of the costumes. So it is not a craft that has been handed down wholesale to the younger ones. And sometimes it just takes the initiative of the younger ones. If you really want to learn it, the knowledge is out there. You could go and understudy one of these guys and learn how to do it. But what I would have loved to see for Trinidad and Tobago is that we could have a carnival factory where we produce our costumes and export them worldwide. Because when you say the word monopoly, we do have a monopoly in the carnival sphere. In terms of our carnival costume designers, if you look at the number of designers in the diaspora, majority of them come from Trinidad and Tobago, and they design costumes for all the other different carnivals. And you would have other islands coming here to get some of the materials that they would not be able to import in a short notice, to come here to get it. So my thought was always, all right, if we know we are the Mecca of Carnival and we have that monopoly in the creative sphere, creating these costumes and shipping all the talent, why not have our own mini production unit in terms of a Carnival factory? And we do the designs, we hire the seamstresses, the tailors, the wire benders, the featherers, the gem people, everyone, and come together and we create all of the costumes here and export it as we go along, because there are so many carnivals. And when I asked that question in the carnival sphere, the answer I got back is in terms of scale, because economies of scale, when they get it from China, the factories in China produce so large quantities of different items throughout the year. When they're creating beads, it's not just beads for carnival costumes. They have beads or gems that they create for so many other different things. And I just feel a case study could be done where we could look into the feasibility of that being done here and being exported, us exporting our product elsewhere and creating that whole atmosphere for Carnival in TNT.
Well, exactly. And I mean, Kathy-Ann has mentioned it, and well, the whole China thing, because somebody's saying, but many bands have their production in China. Yes, that would affect things. But I think, and it comes back to what actually Gina said. No, we're not taking this seriously enough, because if the powers that be were taking it seriously, yes, it would be taught in our schools. One, yes, there would be a carnival, if you want, as you said, a factory, an institute, case studies being done, feasibility studies, to see if we set up, how could we compete? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to compete with China, but still looking at what is it that we could do locally that, you know, and not the whole thing. So what I'm saying, Stephen Taylor say Rome for Carnival president. Yes, I will give him my vote too. But yeah, why aren't these things? This is our culture. This is intrinsically, we're saying we're exporting this all over the world. I mean, Toronto, we didn't mention Toronto. Caribana is one of the biggest street festivals in Canada, in North America, actually, I read, you know. So why aren't we, you know, teaching this? Why aren't we doing feasibility studies? We don't believe that this, and you know, the amount you said, I think you said Carnival brought in what, 100 million. I'm sure it's more than that. That is maybe what we can quantify. But you know what really touched me this year, brought tears to my eyes, is when I went to try Ban Launch and I saw all the vendors outside of the party. And I was like, what did all these people do for the past 2 years, you know? I mean, they all have their other hustles, I know that. But these carnival fetes, the fetes are, you know, generate money, not just for the promoter. It's a whole downside industry. What about the hairdressers, the nail salons? Everybody gets involved. So we have this huge economy, this, you know, and yet the powers that be don't see it, that this is somewhere that should be invested in and built out. And we're doing it on our own. I mean, now, what do you think? I'm going to put this out here. What do you think about the concierge services? There's a huge new thing. Well, it existed already, but it's going now onto a whole other scale where people could basically fly into Trinidad and have their whole week planned out for them, everything paid in advance. And, you know, even transport now is being. So I think that's quite innovative in a way of moving, you know, the product forward. What would you say to that, Rome? And do you all have that? Have we lost Mateen? I'm not seeing him anymore. But Rome, what would you say about the concierge services? And
I think that's a great business, because one of the things that tourists find difficult. Now, if you are connected to the Caribbean diaspora, right? Or you know a Trini or somebody who is involved in Carnival, you will know your way around. But if you're not, picture this. I'm from Germany. I've heard of Trinidad's Carnival. I saw it on the internet and I am interested to come in there. I have no clue. I don't know, one, where could I get a costume? How do I even register for this thing? Two, where are the fetes happening? Which are the good fetes to go to? I may be a more mature person. What type of fete I would like versus what type of fete might be out of my age bracket to go to? How do I get this knowledge? And that's one of the things we lack, and that's where concierge services are actually great businesses, and is an avenue for more and more people to keep doing that and getting the tourists involved and bringing them as a guide, as you are their tour guide as to the carnival. And that was how I got my gig on that VH1 show with Lil Kim. It was through a concierge service, because they didn't know how to move around and maneuver through Trinidad's carnival, and they hired me as their fun director to guide them as to what was. Imagine when I went to New York for that show, and I saw their plan. They had a cricket match and a river line planned for Carnival Saturday. And I had to tell them, listen, you all have to be insane. You all want the Trinis to kill me? I am the fun director bringing you all for Trinidad Carnival. I carry on a river line and a cricket match Carnival Saturday, when everybody out there doing carnival stuff. And that's what a tourist may not know, and they may not get that information without a guide or a concierge service. So it's a great, great business for anyone out there who wants to start.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Stephen is mentioning the public transport, because the thing is too, our public transport is terrible. So as you said, somebody coming from Germany expecting the organization of Germany and they come to Trinidad. First, there are no street signs. You don't know where, well, you know, directional street signs. I mean, you don't know where you're heading. And then, of course, there's no public transport services. Yes, the age taxis, but then they tell you, don't take those, they're not safe, whatever. So it really, the concierge service, and we actually have somebody on the chat, who does have a concierge company, Mark, welcome. And he says his biggest problem has always been connecting to the promoters and the band leaders. So maybe this is something that the Promoters Association should, I don't know, maybe it's something you all could, you know, work on a method. And like you said, lodging is always the hardest to get. Yes. So do you all have concierge services in the UK, Mateen?
Yes, we do. You hearing me okay? I'm sorry, I dropped off.
Yes.
I had a little technical difficulty. Yes, we do have concierge services, and we have local concierge service in that people who will come to our band house, they will collect costumes for all of their customers and go and drop them off. A lot of people fly in at the last hour, long after distribution has happened. But more to the extent that Rome is talking about, I deal with some French concierge or services, and there's a lot of French Caribbean people that come over from Paris and other parts of France for Notting Hill Carnival. And those concierges will contact us, you know, months and months before Carnival, and they were like, okay, well, we want to go to these fetes, we want to have a certain amount of people in your band, and they do it with not just our business, with all the bands and all the parties. So it is a very live service happening there, and we're seeing the French they've excelled at it because they offer packages. I mean, I can't really read their Instagram; it's all in French, but you know, from the gist, I can get their offering the full shebang. The only thing being, yes, London, we have good public transport, we have Uber, we have, you know, it's easy to get around. I think that's the biggest challenge in Trinidad, because even when I go back for Carnival, you know, most lines that you go with, somebody in the line organizes a maxi for the whole posse to go down to the fete and get back home. But of late, in 2020, I found even like maxi men that people knew were all booked up all of the time. So even that facility is getting overcrowded. What next, you know?
Yeah, but that's where, yeah. Well, actually, we have Kathy Ann Martin has, she's adding, because she works at PTSC, but she also has a transport company. And she says that the new marketing team at PTSC is working hard at improving the public transport buses. I will also recommend that you all can contact them to work together, especially for Carnival. Okay, great. And I know Kathy Ann also offers transport services. So guys, it was fantastic. It's, you know, almost an hour in, so we have to wrap up. Thank you for all the valuable information you shared, and definitely I'm gearing to go for Carnival. I'm very excited. I have said I'm playing mass. Every year I say I'm playing mass, and then something comes up that I have to work, but I'm trying again for 23. So I'm putting it out there officially. I am playing mass. So hopefully there's no job. There's no Nicki Minaj coming in last minute, because that's what stopped me from playing in 2020. I was called to be the fixer when she was here. So hopefully there's no big, I mean, there's certain people, if they did come and I had to work with them, I would forfeit Carnival, but they're very few. Anyway, could we have a last word from Rome and then Mateen?
I would say that what I would like to see, and this goes to our government and to the powers that be, is that there would be a shift away from the focus of just oil and gas as Trinidad's greatest resource. I always believe that our greatest resource is our human resource, our creativity as a people.
Our people, exactly.
Yes. So I would like to see them invest more, not only in the Carnival product, but in the creative spaces, because I came from oil and gas, and I'm telling you, we have very mature wells, and the oil and gas is on its way out, and it will run out very soon, sooner than we would think. And I would like to see a plan in place where you take that money that we made in oil and gas and reinvest it in different sectors, creative sector being one of them, to diversify the economy and for us to move forward as a people and look for other areas of generating income.
Yeah, Definitely. And I want to say I have to plug C15 Studios here because one of few financial institutions in Trinidad and Tobago, even the Caribbean, that's investing in the creative sectors. And thank God we're not government. I wouldn't be working with them if we were. Private funds, private minds, and very dynamic team behind me, and very exciting. So Mateen, what's up? How are we closing?
It's always good to hear what's going on the other side of the pond. But we, up on this side, what we would really love to see is a bigger sort of unity between the Caribbean and the UK and Europe. You know, we have promoters and we do our own thing. Some of us work with others, but as we were going back to that sort of carnival monopoly, if we can get organized better and we can do a lot more together, it would be, you know, it would benefit us greatly. I know that, for example, London has sort of achieved that, but there's stuff going on in Europe, and Europe's carnivals are isolated. They don't see they don't really see the entertainment coming from the Caribbean. They don't see they don't see brand carnival there. They do recreate it and they do a great job of it, but it would look a lot nicer with more of a, oh, there's brands that you know and love that have gone across there. I know that when you're going into smaller markets, there's less money to be made, and a lot of brands think that way, and it's true. But you know, to spread our wings further, I would like to see us pop up carnivals in more European destinations.
Great, I agree. I was at Rotterdam when Marshall performed, and that was phenomenal. I mean, definitely the crowds will come out. People will come out. You know, I mean, I was also in Paris when Calypso Rose and Marshall and Nyla performed at the Olympia. It was packed. You know, so it's not like if these places sell out. It's just to take the risk and try and do it. You know, and push it forward. So kudos to you, Mateen, for flying that flag for how many years. And the flights to get across the pond need to get a lot nicer. Well, the flights do. I mean, that we know this. We know that, you know, transport, as I said earlier, people are looking for flights right now to come in for Carnival, and asking me, they called me today to ask me, do I know if they're going to add additional flights for Carnival? Like, how would I know? Like, I don't know. I don't work in Caribbean Airlines, so I can't tell you that. But if I just said, if I were you, I would find a creative way of getting here, because, you know, just you need to be here. So thank you all. Thank you both so much. Rome, are you going over to Tobago for the weekend, or are you not participating?
No. That's what I have to judge Miss Wood.
Oh, yes, I saw that. So
Sounds
yes,
like a hard job.
Yeah, Matthew.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback from Tobago. I've been watching some of the stories. It looks good, and yeah, I look forward to Mateen. I hope I see you in 23 when you come down for Carnival, and let's keep, you know, spreading the word and the love. As Rome said, I think what I think we really have captured as Caribbean people is that joie de vivre, is that party spirit, you know, that we are such a happy people. And that is something that is invaluable. Like, you know, it's really invaluable. It's such a great asset. So to all the happy people out there, to all the Caribbean people, you know, good evening. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Mateen, I'm letting you go so you can go to sleep as you pass your bedtime. And see you all next month for the next episode of the C15 show. Good night, everybody.